Overpaying for anything sucks, especially socks, so why pay $45 for a single pair of grip socks when you can spend less than half? Pure Grip Socks Pro feature our best materials for optimal fit, moisture wicking, and performance at a fair price, just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
For how much all the big brands push these performance-enhancing technologies in their latest football boots, nobody's really running faster, nobody's really jumping higher, and in general, the best athletes are performing at the highest level, regardless of whether or not they're wearing the latest boots on their feet. But surely, at least some of these technologies have to have a positive impact on performance, and having tried all the latest and greatest in the world of football boots, I've concluded that there are 5 technologies currently available that will actually make a difference. And that's not to say that the boots with these 5 technologies will necessarily make you perform better. That's on you, not the boots, but I do think these pieces of tech do offer a difference in regards to feel, and in some cases, actual performance characteristics that won't put you at an advantage, but can definitely help you to perform at your best. And really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy the content, drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2023. Also, if you're interested in any of the boots in this video, check out the links down below. You'll be able to get them below their normal retail prices by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes. The first piece of tech that I think legitimately makes a difference is one that nobody really talks about because it's featured inside of the football boots and nobody can see it, and that is grip-lined insoles. From Puma on all of their top-end models, you're going to find their nano grip technology. From New Balance on their top-end models, you're going to find what they call InfiniGrip, and from Mizuno on the Made in Japan Alpha, you're going to find an unnamed technology, but the same amount of grippy texture, almost like a soft silicone that more or less acts like a pair of grip socks, preventing your foot from sliding around on the surface of the insole inside of your boots, and therefore making them feel more responsive. And while I do think feel is definitely the key word here, when you're talking about responsiveness and its correlation to performance, if you are making a quick cut or change of direction at the same time as your opponent, if you can react that couple milliseconds quicker because your foot isn't sliding, there is some form of a tangible performance gain that I think can be perceived. In other words, if your feet are slipping inside of your football boots, even if it's just a little bit, that is not a good thing, which is why I think these grippy insoles are so good. Nike's new Gripknit technology found on the Phantom GX Elite is an evolution of the Flyknit material that they introduced almost 10 years ago now. And just like Flyknit, it offers a knitted construction, giving the boots a very sock-like sensation, but instead of having a thin layer of polyurethane fused to the surface, they actually incorporated a grippy material within the yarn itself, basically creating a grippy texture across the surface of the entire upper. Basically everywhere where you have this fingerprint pattern has this soft silicone stickiness to it that is super noticeable on the ball. And obviously the Phantom GX is marketed as a control boot, which ultimately doesn't really mean anything in regards to actually controlling the ball. That's on you, not the boots on your feet. But if you're somebody that finds that when you try to receive a pass and generally control the ball, that you can feel the ball slipping on the surface of your foot, having the additional grip from this Gripknit material might legitimately help you to control the ball more efficiently. It's certainly going to be very noticeable, and obviously there's a personal preference aspect to how much grip you like on the surface of the upper, but I think the low profile grip of the Gripknit material, if you're somebody that tends to prefer a grippier feel on the ball against your foot, you really can't go wrong with this, and I think you'll definitely notice that you control the ball more efficiently. In other words, compared to other football boots, you will notice the additional grip every time you make contact with the ball. The Adidas Predator series was created based around the concept of providing additional friction on the ball for the sake of improved control, better shot accuracy, more spin on the ball, so many benefits that you otherwise would not have if the upper was more slippery against the ball itself. And in 2023, the latest offering from Adidas is the Predator Accuracy. I have the Laceless Plus model here, but you'll also find these rubber high definition grips on the 0.1 variations as well. And what these effectively do, they're small pieces of rubber that sit on the surface of the upper that provide tons and tons of additional grip on the ball. Which, unlike the Phantom GX, where that grip is kind of scattered across the entire upper, this is more so focused around the area of the foot where you would be shooting and passing the ball. So in terms of receiving a pass and making one, there's definitely an element of control that comes with the extra grip, but particularly when it comes to shooting and trying to curl the ball, I'm not necessarily going to say that you'll curl the ball more because of the extra grip, but you will certainly be able to generate more spin on the ball with less effort because of these rubber elements. And from a performance standpoint, there is definitely something to be said about that. If it were just a matter of taking free kicks, I genuinely don't think that there's a better pair of football boots out there than the current Predator Accuracy because of these rubber elements. Air Zoom tech has been a huge part of the Nike brand for a very long time now, and going back over 20 years, it was even once featured on the Nike Mercurial football boots. But as it relates to their latest offerings in the Vapor 15 and the Superfly 9 Elite, you're going to find a Air Zoom unit specifically designed for this football boot sitting underneath the balls of your feet. If you pull the insole out of these boots and take a look inside, you'll notice what is basically a 3/4 length articulated zoom unit that sits directly on the underside of the sole plate itself, which is pretty groundbreaking on its own as far as the construction of a pair of football boots is concerned. But what that means is that there's only a very thin layer of foam between your foot and the zoom unit itself that provides a tremendous amount of bounce back cushion that you simply will not find from any other football boot. From Nike, it's touted as a speed element, and I'll tell you straight up right now, this zoom unit will not make you run faster by any means at all. But from a comfort standpoint and impact protection standpoint, we've genuinely never seen anything like it on a pair of football boots before. So to be clear, the performance gains to be had here aren't necessarily the ones that Nike is claiming, but from an impact protection standpoint, in a type of footwear that typically offers very little cushion underneath your foot, having that protection on the balls of your feet, underneath your toes, and part of the midfoot really makes a gigantic difference compared to past Mercurials and, quite honestly, any other football boot that I've ever worn. You almost have to view it as a technology that protects the bottom of your feet, and it does such a good job of that that if I had the option of putting this Air Zoom tech in basically any football boot I wanted, I 100% would take that opportunity. Now, as it relates to football boot tech, I've been pretty adamant, even in this video, that there isn't one that will truly put you at an advantage. In other words, if another player doesn't have the same boots as you, they aren't necessarily going to be at a disadvantage. But in the case of Nike's Anti-Clog technology that you're going to find on all of their top end soft ground options, this material that basically, when it gets wet, doesn't allow mud to stick to it, will legitimately provide you a traction advantage compared to another player without this technology that has a sole plate that is completely filled up with mud. Now, obviously, Nike's Anti-Clog technology is very condition specific, where if you're not playing on a soft, slightly muddy, natural grass playing surface, then you really don't need this. It's not going to benefit you in any way at all. But in the case of playing on soft ground, slipping becomes a big part of the game, and it can happen in pretty critical moments. And sometimes you just slip because the ground breaks underneath your foot because you push too hard based on how soft the ground is. That's something that's beyond your control, regardless of whether or not you have anti-clog. But in the case of mud kind of clogging up the bottom of your football boots, where on a soft ground pitch, you typically wear soft ground boots because the studs are a little bit longer. If those studs get covered in mud, basically creating a flat surface underneath your foot, you are more likely to slip. Where with this anti-clog technology, because of the slick finish that it has, when a little bit of moisture is present, it legitimately will not clog up with mud. And in comparison to another player whose boots are clogged up with mud, you will legitimately be at an advantage from a traction standpoint. If they slip and you don't in a one-on-one battle, that can be a game-changing moment. And that's why I think if you regularly play on soft natural grass, if you don't have a pair of Nike football boots with anti-clog technology, I legitimately think that you're potentially missing out on some performance gains. Maybe not across the board, but those critical moments, this could be the difference.